According to legend, a poor Mexican boy approached the crutch in his village church on Christmas Eve. It was customary to leave gifts for the Christ child, but the boy had none to give. As the lad knelt in the snow to pray, a scarlet plant emerged from the frozen ground, and the boy presented it to the babe in the manger. Well, it became known in Mexico as Flor de la Noche Buena, or the Christmas flower. Well, in 1928, an American named Joel Poinsett was visiting Mexico and came across the plant. Well, he brought it back to America, where it was renamed for him. Fortunately for us, a variety was developed in this country for the Christmas market. Well, these poinsettias are certainly striking, and they're colorful, reds and greens. Oh, they're beautiful. That basket is just cascading with poinsettias, and the centers are topped off with some yo-yos. Now, this is beautiful and colorful, but what if you like something more Victorian? Would you like to have something with soft pinks and purples? Well, this one is perfect for the Victorian home. Well, why don't we try our green thumb and see if we can grow some poinsettias. At least we know these poinsettias are everlasting. Now that's the kind that I like, the ones that you don't have to take care of. Well, start out with the light background fabric, and oh, this one is beautiful in pinks, muted shades. That background fabric is cut at 14 1/4 inches by 16 inches, and boy, the best ruler is the 16-inch square up. So just line it up so that you're avoiding that selvage edge right along here. Plan it so that it's a little oversized, a little bit larger than 14 1/4, and then just trim it on two sides. Once you've got that trimmed on two sides, turn it around and then lay that ruler back down. Ooh, let's see if I can get that unfolded. Nice big piece here. Line it up right along the bottom at 14 1/4, 16 inches. Just zip right up there, right across. Oh, perfect. Gosh, this piece is just so beautiful. Love it. Now, take this piece and line it up with the table piece, and that piece is 4 1/4 inches by 16 inches in width as well. Now, you've got to get that doily for under the basket. It comes from a 10-inch doily. Go ahead, fold it in half first, and once you have it folded in half, just take your rotary cutter, your ruler, cut it right down through the middle, and that goes in between those two pieces. Oh, it's looking like a wall hanging already. Now that basket, you are going to love the fabric from this basket. It's sewn with iron-on interfacing, fusible interfacing. If you look right here, you can see there's a dotted side of the interfacing. Here's the side of the basket, the fabric side of the basket. We'll just trace your pattern right on that fusible interfacing and stitch on the line. Oh, use a tight stitch, about 20 stitches to the inch, and then once you have it stitched, trim right up to about 1/8 of an inch away from that line. Now, go ahead and separate it. Oh gosh, I don't want to cut into that basket right now. So separate it apart, and then go ahead and just take your fingers and turn it right side out. Now, if you remember on that snowman wall hanging, I used that fusible, that paper-backed web fusing on the back of the snowman. Well, if you use this iron-on interfacing, then you can stuff it once you turn it. So poke out those points. Let me run that around, because this is just going to fuse in place the same way, but we can add some dimension. Oh, this is perfect fabric. Wow. Get that little point out there, and then that's going to go centered right above there. How about some 5-inch doilies? Oh goodness, this is the perfect project for digging through your sewing room. Now that's the basis of the whole background. Now let me show you those yo-yos, those poinsettias. They come from different shades of burgundies, pinks, whatever you'd like. And you can see right here I have several stacked up, at least 5 different shades, going from light to medium to dark, and you can go ahead and change your textures as well. Now, if you'd like to take a template, how about an 8-ounce yogurt lid. It's perfect for laying right on top of this stack, drawing right around that circle. Now the size of the circle is 3 1/4 inches. So just go ahead, make a stack of yo-yos. Oh my gosh, I think you need to have 35 of these for this whole wall hanging. So once you have it trimmed in half, then with your rotary cutter and your ruler, ooh, let's get this out of the way here, then cut it right down through the middle. Line up your ruler. Ooh, that looks good. Center it. Got it. This is fun. Now, take these pieces and just fold them right sides together. You've got a whole stack of halves. Looks like little Santa's hats we're going to be making here. Use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Ooh, and how about 20 stitches to the inch? And all you're going to do is assembly line sew them. Just pick them up, fold them right sides together, and just keep on pushing them right through there, lining them up, oh, until you get this whole big long stack going right through there. Won't take you long, but you should know I've got one ready to go on. So once you have them all assembly line sewn, just snip them apart like this and turn them right side out. Stick your finger right in there. Now this part right here, this is certainly something that you can use your stiletto on to pick out that point. And just pull out several, turn all of them right side out. Cute little Santa hats. Now, I want to sew these by hand. Oh my gosh, this is going to be fun. This is TV work. Go ahead and thread your needle. Get a thimble that fits. Let's see how this one fits. This is good. And put a double strand of thread in your needle and a knot on the end. And oh, let's just go ahead and hold this and take big stitches. Oh, big ones going right across here. I've been accused of saying big ugly stitches. No, cute little ones. And just pull that tight. Now you're going to stitch approximately 11 of these little hats in a row for the back of the poinsettia. Keep on going right along here. 11 in a row for the back of the poinsettia, and then 6 or 7 for the top of it. And just pull them along and mix up your colors if you'd like. Line them in a row. Let me see if I can get a couple more on here. Gosh, I'm lucky enough to live right in the poinsettia capital of the world. You know that right here in the Encinitas area is the Paul Ecke Ranch. And oh, he grows poinsettias and sends them all around the country. You know, in fact, he sends them right to Pennsylvania, where my father buys a poinsettia for my mother every year. And you know, every year she complains about it. I never did understand that. But boy, she grows them, keeps them alive, and they're beautiful. Okay, now just go ahead and pull this up. And as you gather those, aren't they cute? As you gather them, this is what they're going to look like. And you want to just fasten off the 2 ends and then make a second one. This is the 11 part petal for the bottom. On the top, it's going to go either a 6 or a 7 part. And while you're working, you might want to go ahead and check and see if you can put a button right on the top if it's closed. That'll work great. So let's just see, have one all set. I just pull over here and show you. Got all of the background down, all the doilies in place. Now see how that's going to fit right on here. And you could just go ahead, put buttons on the top or put a little yo-yo on the top. That'll look great. You can see all the machine quilting around there. Now the leaves come from a 4-inch circle that you just stitch the same way, turn it right side out. This time you center the seam to go down the middle and you fold those edges under. Have a nice poinsettia leaf that's going to just go right under there. Now you can turn this into a pin as well, or what if, just with a change of colors, you create a really nice country sunflower pin. Well, these are all just easy flowers to grow. Don't need much of a green thumb to create these poinsettias. In the early 1900s, the Amish living in Indiana enjoyed creating that popular pattern, the bow tie. And oh, this is just a wonderful bow tie scrap quilt. Well, it's made from feed sacks because I can tell when I look closely at the muslin, I can see those little holes left from that string that tied that whole feed sack together. Well, it was actually first introduced by Ruby McKim in 1931. Then Dover reprinted it in the book called 101 Patchwork Patterns. Now, Ruby referred to it as the necktie pattern. This is it right here. Now, there were two simple pieces to make. She referred to this piece right here. You'd need to have 2 color and 2 white, and then in addition, 1 color. And when I look at it, I do believe that this quilt was made from this pattern. These sides had to fit together. Now, Ruby indicates in her pattern, she says, and this block is about as simple to make as a bow tie is to tie. Oh my goodness, I don't think it's that simple to make. I have a much easier way to make it, and you're going to love this. This quilt was just created this weekend by Carrie Hershey's girls up in Mendocino at a sewing camp, and it's in reproduction fabrics. It's great. Now, Marsha Latcher added a touch of Christmas with these miniature bow tie wreaths set together on point. All 4 of them. Just a wonderful wall hanging for the holidays. And the best thing about it is that there are no pieces to set in. It's all just strips and squares. Well, it starts out with 2.5-inch strips, and then they're cut into 2.5-inch squares. This is my green right here. Oh, and it's simple too. Only 3 fabrics to choose. But once you cut your 2.5-inch strip, then go ahead and just cut your 2.5-inch squares. Oh, cut up a bunch, because for the light you need to have 52, you need to have 36 green, and 12 red. What a stack. Well, let's just go ahead and take a look at this bow tie, because it's essentially a 4-patch. Kind of hard to see it as a 4-patch, but it's true. And to make that 4-patch, you're going to need to have 3 of the dark, 3 of the green, and 2 of the light. And when you set 4-patch together, let's see if we can just do this. You're going to do something like that, and then this last piece that's right here is going to end up folded right through that middle. Well, this sounds like a real trick. You're going to really enjoy this. Now, start out, get your 2 stacks handy, get your lights and your greens close by so you can just line them up. And the first thing you want to do is take 2 greens and put the first one right side up and just fold the second one so that it's in half with wrong sides together, and then line it up right on that bottom edge. Let's see if I can get that perfect. Ooh, that looks good. And then just take a light and put it right in half. Ooh, sandwich that folded piece right in the middle. And then use that 1/4 inch seam allowance, 15 stitches to the inch, back stitch here. Go ahead, keep those edges all lined up. Right at the end, back stitch again. Let me show you again, that's so tricky. Green on the bottom, second green piece folded in half, wrong sides together, long way. Line it up on the bottom edge, and then take a light. Let's see if I can slide that over just a little bit, because I want to get all those edges lined up. Okay, light on top, square that up. Boy, this is so tiny just with these little 2.5-inch pieces. Actually, those other quilts, those scrap quilts, I think were made with like 3-inch squares, 4-inch squares. Be a lot easier than just these little pieces. Okay, now, once you've assembly line sewed these all down along, you're going to take the bottom piece and turn it so that it's at the top. Now, open it up and just flip those pieces right to the side so that the seam is actually in the inside now. Now, since it's a 4-patch, just think of the opposites. If there's a light right here, you want to do it opposite, so let's just get a light underneath right along here. And so we want to put light here, green on top, right sides together. This is crazy. What is this person doing? Okay, get that lined up on the edge. Right along here, line up those outside edges. You just want to back stitch. And you can assembly line sew right down along here. There's that folded piece right there. Opposite of light, green on the bottom. Oops, wait a minute. Think straight, ew. Light on the top, light on the bottom. Boy, I did that just to make sure you were paying attention. green on top. Let's get this right through there. Now comes the trickiest part of all. This is like an origami technique. This is like fabric folding that we're going to do. So we've got this funny piece here. Here's these two pieces. They're opposites here. Green going through the middle. That folded piece right through there. Now you want to take these and just push them. Open this up a little bit right here. This is the folded part. Just open that up. And when you get the seam right here, you want to start pushing it in opposite directions. It's not so important that you get that all lined up. But what is important is that right here along this edge, you see how you've got that long seam there? Because you're going to sew another 1/4 of an inch along here. If you sew less than 1/4, then you're going to put a little tuck in your bow tie. So let me just put a pin right there. Let me go over here and open this one up. Get that pulled along there. Make sure I have that 1/4 of an inch. Line that up. Squeeze that seam together. Wiggle match that seam in there. Put another pin right here. Now, take it back through one more seam, and you're going to be literally amazed. Ooh, I can't wait to get that sewn right along there. Now, if you open it and you have a little tuck, it just means that you possibly took a seam deeper than 1/4 of an inch. So you want to go back, unsew those stitches, and do a 1/4 of an inch seam. Take those pins out. Ta-da! Now, is that not neat? Look at that. There's actually a little part right here. You could probably stash one of your Christmas treasures in there. But that's that folded technique that's right in there. Perfect. Now you want to just get it pressed flat, and then we're going to start laying out those blocks. All right. Let me just clear my way here and get you going. My blocks are finished, and I'm laying them out on point now. Now here are the 4 wreath blocks. And to finish this off, you can go ahead and make one light square exactly the same size as this one with 4 pieces sewn together. Or you could go ahead and make 4 tiny bow ties and sew them together into one block. Marcia likes to do it that way. Now, the pieces around the outside edge come from a 13-inch square that's been cut in 4s on the diagonal. Now, those go in these 4 positions. The bias is in the inside. The straight of the grain is on the outside edge. The corners, those 4 corners, come from 2 7-inch squares cut only once on the diagonal. The bias is on the inside on those. Now, once your whole top is laid out, then go ahead and separate it into rows. There's actually 3 rows here. I'm going to do this row, sew it together, then the middle row, sew it together, and then the corner. Then the rows go into one piece. Now watch. When you take this triangle, you flip it right sides together. You always match it right up here at this square edge, but you let that tip hang out right on the bottom. And then once that whole top is sewn together, we'll just square off those outside edges. As soon as I get this top together, I'll show you how to finish it. At the speed I'm going, I am going to be ready for Christmas in time. Well, I sewed my top together, and then I added that folded border. Oh, I decided on a green border after all, but this is that 1.5-inch piece that's folded with wrong sides together, and then it's just stitched to the quilt top. Next, I layered my backing, right sides down, and my cotton batting on top. And I taped all those 4 sides. Because this is just a small wall hanging, you need to really tape it on a table like this so that you can safety pin it flat. Now, these are 1-inch safety pins. You need to pin throughout about every 6 inches. Just take a tool like this, take a bite in with your safety pin, and when it comes back out, just catch it. It's really a lot easier to do than just using your fingernails, especially if you're going to do a king-size quilt and put around 300 pins all along the top. Much easier. Now, the borders come next. These are 3.5-inch borders, and I'm sewing them through all thicknesses. That way I won't have to go back and do any stitch in the ditch. Ooh, just pin that right through there. And as I pin, I am putting a little tension on my fabric right through all those layers, scratching that mat as it goes down through. Okay, got to do is just pull that tape away. You know, you can use clamps for this as well if you have a larger table, larger quilt, and you can get it through the thickness of your table. Now I have my walking foot in place, and I set it to 3.7 stitch length. And right now I'm just going to drop my walking foot right in the end, take a stitch forward, take a back stitch, and then just as you go, you always take your right hand and you feel underneath, and when you know it's clear, nothing there, you put your right hand here, your left hand here, and just keep it flat on the table as you go along. Just roll it along. Okay, second check, right hand here, left hand here, and just keep it flat. Now, as I go down this border, I'm going to tell you about the batting. Now, you can choose whatever kind of batting you like. The batting I'm using is 100% cotton. That's the one that's on the bottom of the stack. Then the second one up is also 100% cotton, and they're both great for a flat antique look. Now that yellowish batting is 100% wool, and oh, it is great for needling both by hand and machine. Or you might want to go ahead and use the 100% polyester batting. You can get it in so many different thicknesses, but I recommend a 3-ounce weight for your small wall hangings. Works great. Next step is some machine quilting, and you can machine quilt it as much as you would like, just using your walking foot. If you look right here, I did a 1/4 inch machine quilting right around 1/4 inch in the inside of this, just keeping my needle down, rotating around there, small and easy. And then I think that I'll also do a 1/4 inch right around the outside edge of the wreath as well. But how about I show you the binding? Well, the binding comes from a 3-inch strip, and it needs to be at least the length, go the whole way around the outside edge of the quilt, plus some extra. Now you take your binding and you press it in half right with wrong sides together, like so. And I'm just going to start right almost in the middle of one side, down near a corner. So line that up with the outside edge. I don't like to trim my batting or my backing until I get this binding on. Oh, the stitch length looks good. Okay, now the corner is going to be the trickiest part, so that's what I wanted you to see, because you just line up the edge of your foot, but when you get the width of your foot away from the corner, you put your needle down, you raise your presser foot, and you go to the second side and just back off. Just reverse-sew right off of there. Now take this corner and fold it straight up at an angle. That's at a perfect mitered angle. Once you have that folded up, hold your fingers right here and fold it right back down so that you line it up with that outside edge. Ooh, let's see. And just go on. And you just continue right around the quilt, doing all of the sides and all of the corners, exactly like that. Let me show you the last step on the binding. Okay, we've got it all trimmed up. We've got it all sewn. Now all you want to do is just trim that off right along there. Trim it right against it. When you take this, all you need to do is just fold this right from the front, and look at that perfect miter. Is that not wonderful? And then all you need to do is just pin it right along here. Pull your binding so that it covers that row of stitching. And from the back side, you could go ahead and do a hand stitch if you'd like. Boy, a lot of my friends do that hand stitching. Right here in that miter, just tuck that in there, pin that in. You could also do it the way I do it. I just go ahead and do a stitch in the ditch right from this side all around the outside edge. Oh my goodness, I'm going to finish this wall hanging. If you like making the bow tie block, you'll love making this beautiful Christmas quilt. Oh, Marilyn took all of the scraps left over from her projects and created this wonderful quilt. Then you can take those scraps and turn it into a beautiful strip pillow with some holly embellishment. Oh, it's wonderful. Now you enjoy creating patchwork, throughout your house